Hello there. Good evening, everyone. I'm Shrikant Acharya, CEO at OffiNeeds.com, and I'm super thrilled to be hosting the first episode of Employee Engagement Live. I really want to thank you for taking your time and being present here for this live show. It's going to be really exciting, and I know the weekend's here. It's Friday 4 p.m., and I'm sure you're thinking about what movie to watch on the weekend or whom to chill with this weekend. So I really appreciate you taking the time out to spend the next 30 to 40 minutes with us. And I'm going to do my best to make it really, really worth your time. So as we speak, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn all at the same time. So wherever you are, you can cheer for us. You can leave us your comments, and we'll try to respond to as many of the questions as possible. So I'm Shrikant Acharya, CEO at OffiNeeds.com. OffiNeeds is a leading corporate gifting company based in Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Chennai. And in the last few months and years, I've been in the space of learning and discovering about employee engagement, and I've been reading a lot of books, speaking to a lot of people with a lot of experience, and it's been a very exciting journey. So employee engagement live is an exercise or is an effort from my end to reach out the knowledge, the education to anybody who's interested, mostly HR folks and people who are in charge of employee engagement and employee experiences at companies. Now, why I believe this is important and relevant is because we are on the cusp of change with remote working becoming the norm, and with everybody working from home, and no more walking across the aisle, putting your hand on the shoulder of your colleague and speaking to them. You have to book your calendar. You have to get on to meets like this, and you have to speak to them. Employee engagement is becoming really, really challenging, and now I believe is the time for us to learn about new strategies, learn about what some of the biggies are doing, and try to basically learn from experts and people with experience and people with insight. So that's exactly what Employee Engagement Live is going to be about. This is the first episode of Employee Engagement Live, where I will be speaking to professionals with significant experience, expertise, and insights into employee engagement. And I want to take the opportunity to invite and welcome today's speaker, who is Yugandhar Penubolu, right? So now this is the book which he's written, and I came across this book, and I thought it was really, really interesting. It's called The Transformational Lens, and I came across this book a couple of months ago, and I was amazed at how simple it was, and how easy he made employee experience, and how he made capability building sound. And I really loved the gist of this book, and reached out to him and asked him if he'd like to come for an interview. So Yugandhar is comes with almost 22, 23 years of professional experience. He's based in Hyderabad right now, and he started off his career with Citibank, and then moved on to G Consumer Financials. And then for about 4 years, he worked with Standard Chartered Bank, and then went on to head product development at India Bulls Consumer Finance Limited. And after that, for almost 7 years, he was working as a vice president and head of business at Barclays Business. And after that, he worked for 2 years. He was an independent consultant and worked with several organizations, including the likes of Serco. And then from 2015 to 2019, which was his last professional stint, he was working as the vice president of credit control and retention at Act Fibernet. In 2019, he, so to say, hung his boots and became an entrepreneur and started two companies. One is called Buddy Soch Innovations Private Limited, and another one called Winzard Solutions Private Limited. So let me introduce to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, Yugandhar. Thank you, Yugandhar, Hi, Yugandhar. Hi, Yugandhar.
Welcome. Hi, Shrikant. I hope I'm audible, and
yes.
that was a very generous introduction. Thank you, and hi everybody. It's good to be here, and I hope we keep this as productive as possible. I know it's the weekend, so over to you, Shrikant. Let's start.
Absolutely.
It's good to see you again.
Good to see you, Yugandhar. How's the weather? You're in Hyderabad right now. It must be scorching hot right away.
Yeah, don't ask. There was one day which we had in this week, which was like a relief, and then back to the 40 degrees. So
Right.
I think it's going to be like this for the next 1 month. Sorry, 1 month, 1.5 months, and then yeah, the rains come in and things should ease out. Yeah.
Right. All right,
How's
Yogandhar. So
Bangalore?
we
How's
have
Bangalore doing? Like,
Bangalore is good. It's been raining for the last 2 or 3 days, and it's cooled down. And this is the Bangalore we really love.
yeah, yeah. The weather there is at least 4 degrees cooler. It's really nice, and it rains often. Yeah,
Right. All right.
that's
So
right.
I see Raghunandan, Naila, Meghna, Nishant, Hisham, and Raghuram. Hi, hello everybody. I see your messages. Thank you so much for reaching out. So let me
Hi.
get straight to the interview here. And I truly loved your book. Okay. So first up,
Thank
let
you.
me tell you guys, if you're in HR, if you're in employee engagement, if you're into employee retention and working on productivity, then this is the book you should get your hands on. It's available on Amazon. But today is a good day because you're here in this interview. And towards the last 10-15 minutes of the interview, we're going to open up for questions. And the most interesting questions will get 3 copies of this book. Yugandhar, can you show those books? It's going to come signed by the author. So you think about your questions, make notes during the interview, and at the end of it, I hope you get the book, right? All right. So with that, I actually want to start by asking why you really wrote this book, Yugandhar.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's a good way to start actually. So the first thing is, uh, as you said, I had like 20 plus years experience in
Mm,
people management, and uh, the organizations I worked with. I mean, there are a lot of people who inspire you in terms of how people could be managed, and the opportunity that you get to work with people, the collaboration, and the kind of talent that you see gives you that kind of insight in terms of why people management is an important aspect and
yeah.
how it could actually be done. Then I did a small I mean, I started writing some blogs on it, and then I also did a course with the London Business School, just a short
Mm,
course, maybe less than 10 days, but it was very insightful. And then I realized that people management and performance management is actually the fundamental to success in an organization. So I wrote this book last year. It's called The Transformational Lens, and it's a guide for people and performance management, and it helps both business leaders as well as people managers. That's like team
yeah.
leaders or people who are managing multiple teams or even a single team. And it's important that they understand what is the right culture they should have within a team, within the organization, and what
Mm,
drives performance, how to build workplace synergies, and more importantly, how you manage yourself while you manage those important teams of yours who are going to actually build your organization, who are going to build your team. I believe organization behavior is the most important aspect.
mm,
While you think about scaling an organization, and when you say organization behavior, you actually talk about what are the things that you practice as an organization. And when I say organization, is people, right? So, and what are the key aspects of performance management that drive, and they could basically enable successful transformations within the organization, within your teams as well. So that's what is why I actually wrote this book, and that's what's somewhat covered in this book. Yeah. So the first half of the book would be talking about the building blocks of an organization, of a team, and then it goes on to talk about how one can manage themselves while they're managing team. Then you talk about performance management. That is, it covers empowering people, empowering teams, assessing people, assessing teams, and then going on to how you ensure that talent is developed in an organization. Finally, it's important that we understand that cohesiveness in an organization and synergies within a workplace
yeah.
are also important. And in fact, many HR managers and business leaders should, take out time to introduce and to also, mentor people to be cohesive, to work cohesively, to work with synergy with other organizations. So, sorry, with other teams. So many
Mm,
functions tend to become to start working in silos, and the synergy could actually bring out a lot of innovations. And the dependencies that people have, if they talk about it, if they talk about the challenges with each other, and look at where each one can help the other, I think the
Yeah,
organization can do fairly better once
absolutely.
these things are in place. Yeah.
Perfect. I completely agree with you, and I think it's while that is already a challenge, I think it becomes an even bigger challenge in the current context where you're not looking at people face to face, where you cannot just walk across the aisle and speak to them, where you're working at a distance. So let's try to address that over the next few minutes. But my next question is this: the my number one takeaway from this book was this culture of innovation, right? So you speak about building a culture of innovation, and I really like how simple the book is, and how you added a lot of anecdotes every now and then. But let me ask you, if you wanted if you had a wish saying this is the number one takeaway that you want people to take away from reading this book, what would that be, Yugandhar?
Yeah, I mean, there's no number one takeaway. If you had to, if I've written the book and I covered those five sections in the book, then I believe all of them are takeaways.
Yeah.
That's why I've written the book. And typically, anybody who writes a book thinks that what they've written is like, very good. It's for the readers actually to start to, give that feedback, and readers to actually, and the criticism that you receive, or the critics actually play a big role in telling you how you writing. And
Right.
it's never you're never there. You're always exploring, you're always looking at new pastures, you're learning more, and the learning
Yeah.
quotient helps you, showcase what you have learned, and it helps others. But if you actually talk about one real key takeaway, I think is the first one. That's the culture,
Mm.
and the culture in an organization, I mean, starts with the leader, obviously. But
Mm.
what happens is actually there are two sets of people who are actually working together: people who are supervisors and people who are individuals. And
Mm.
here, what happens is, typically an individual likes to seek, explore, discover, and look at easier methods or better methods that they are comfortable with. And whereas an organization is looking at control, is
Mm.
very is works with fear, in terms of understanding that, okay, if I let everybody do what they have to do, then
Mm.
maybe there is fear of failure. Maybe
Mm.
we will end up not adhering to these timelines. So certain things like that, make organizations believe in giving tasks to people, and
Mm. Mm.
monitor them more regularly. And
Mm.
as we understand, a very highly checklisted environment, controlled environment, isn't ideal for creativity. But
Mm.
on the flip side, like you said, innovation is the is a subset, or is an outcome of creativity, of
Mm.
freedom. So most of the innovations come out when you have freedom of thought, freedom of expression, and you're thinking about how I could do things better. So innovation happens in two ways. One, you actually put a system in place, a process in place, where you test a lot of scenarios, test a lot of things, and with the aim to innovate. And the other is happens generally while you're doing something. You get an idea, and then
Right.
you think there's merit in that idea. So what do organizations need to do? Firstly, they should set purpose for an and long-term expectations with employees. That's very important. If
Mm.
employees had think about long-term expectations, and if the organization gives people those goals, okay, and which cover like 6 months to a year, and not just tasks, then what happens?
Mm.
Employees can actually start thinking about what are the different methods and what are the different plans they can put in place. So
Mm.
they plan their work, and they call work
Mm.
plans. If you
Right.
break those work plans, they break those goals and long-term expectations into work plans, then it gives scope to the employee to explore different methods to achieve their long-term goals.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
gives them the scope, and also the organization knows very well that, okay, these are the work plans that the employee has put together, and
Mm.
maybe a fortnight, maybe a monthly once, or two times, they could actually supervise, understand what their work plans are, and try to help and guide those people, coach those people in terms of how those work plans could be more valuable, how they could add more value to the work plans. This way, the employee is seeking, exploring, planning,
Mm.
and the organization or the supervisor is helping them, with the challenges that they're facing. And this
Right.
ensures that okay, the employees are working in a controlled environment of set expectations. Somebody is monitoring them fortnightly or monthly, and at the same time employees also. So it's a win-to-win to both,
Right.
and this freedom to employee and supervision both in place could ensure organizations work seamlessly and engagement is at a higher level.
Right.
Hope
Perfect.
that
I think you've set the base for the main question that I want to ask you. So, what according to you is employee engagement? Because that's somewhere in between lies employee engagement, right? The company, the organizations typically who've been working. I mean, I'm going to come to the change which is happening right now, because probably the early 2000s and till 2010, it was about control. It was about giving a top down direction about what it is that needs to be done. And somewhere after 2010, I think we started seeing employee creativity and innovation started becoming more important. Especially the startup culture started to come in smaller teams, and so on, right? So somewhere in between lies employee engagement. So I want to know, what according to you is employee engagement?
So I'm going to flip that question and ask you, what is not? I mean, who in your office is not? I mean, I don't need the name, but what according to you is a person who's not engaged?
All right.
Like, and then I'll actually tell you what I think is employee engagement and who's a
Okay.
highly engaged individual.
Right, right. I love it that you asked me this question. Nobody ever questions the interviewer. But let me tell you, I feel really, the reason I really got excited about the book, right, is because when the first thing that you spoke about is culture, and we are so focused on building a culture within the organization. We have a mission statement, and everybody in the organization is aligned to that mission. To the extent, let me tell you, even the person who serves tea, coffee, and beverages to the people, to the guests, and the office staff, right? She's so pepped up that the office is so energetic, and even when she's on leave, she comes back and she says, "No, I know some of the boys, they're working really hard, so I'll just make tea for a couple of hours and I'll go back." That kind of thing, right? So it will be difficult for me to say who in my organization is not engaged. But yeah, that's within our organization. We are fortunate, we have a very high level of engagement.
Okay, I'll tell you an example. They were organized. I mean, they were employees who I worked with, and many of them who were highly engaged, in my view, and some of
Right.
them who were not really engaged, and some who were actually disengaged. And this happens for various reasons. And I mean, it could be a phase that they're going through. It could be, a situation that they're in an organization, or even at the situation that they're facing at home. It could be
Yeah.
any of those reasons. But obviously, when you talk about how an organization can, build engagement within the organization, and how a more ideal set of values are in place, the culture is right for people to be engaged. Let's take an example of a person who I used to deal with. This person used to work in one of my offices 10 years back. This person used to come to office and ask me every day morning, what do I need to do? And I used to tell, okay, this is what was expected. I told you this last week, and I actually expect an update from you regularly. So once you've given me that update, if anything else is supposed to be there, I'll come to you with it. And this person was only interested in knowing what the task for the day is, and just complete the task and leave. So one day I went up to this person and asked, is there a reason why you don't see how this task is completed? Whether people who actually received the outcome of your task, are they happy? Is the organization benefiting? And this person told me that I'm not really looking at that. I think you told me that this work has to be done. That's it. So I completed this work and I leave. So 6 o'clock, I just log out and leave. So this is a very this is an example of a person who is low on engagement. Actually, I mean, when I describe this example, you maybe think that, and I've chosen this example specifically for telling that this is not disengagement. Sorry, this is not moderately engaged. This is actually low engaged employee. And because if the person is only interested in logging in on time and logging out of time, and does not think about what is the outcome for the organization and the larger good, then the person is actually not engaged.
Right.
Let's see who's a highly engaged employee. And a highly engaged employee is actually one who's satisfied with their work, who's loyal to the organization and their team, and who actually advocates their team and their organization to others. When I say advocate, they talk positively about the organization to others. Okay, and this in to me is a highly engaged employee. Okay,
Right.
and obviously there are moderately engaged people, there are disengaged people too, as I said. And disengaged ones have a negative, disengaged ones are the ones who have a negative influence on the rest of the employees. Okay, there could
Correct.
be many reasons for low engagement. Like it could be, like I said, something going on at home, but let's keep that aside for now, because those are very one-off cases. It happens only once in a while. But let's talk about things which the organization could be responsible for, and
Right.
that is a unsafe workplace, for example, lack of purpose or clarity for to the individual. It could be ineffective supervision. It could be lack of communication. It could be that the person doesn't see recognition, does not feel good working here. Okay, any of those reasons. Okay, and the
Right.
reasons also vary from group to group. So in an organization, there is a unit or a function where the engagement is high, and in a function where the engagement is low.
Right.
Similarly, there's a function where the engagement is low or high for a specific reason, or the source of the reason could be different for another function or unit. Okay, so the
Right.
root cause is you need to be understood by the organization, by unit, by group. So it's important that the organization does an assessment of the engagement, okay, and not just get a feel good factor, or just ask a few people how they feel. That's not the way to do it.
Right. Right.
Ideally, an organization should take off once in 6 months or once in a year, uh, and take people's feedback, let them take a survey and understand what is the engagement quotient by
Right.
unit, by group, and by function, and as an organization. So what happens out of that, the organization gets feedback whether people are engaged, and what are the reasons for disengagement, if maybe. And
Right.
as an organization, what are the two things that you really need to work on? As a
Right.
group, what are the two things that you need to work on? And people also get very specific understanding of how things could improve, and this can facilitate them with action planning. So those
Right.
groups or the organization can set up an action planning kind of a situation. I mean, not situation, a committee kind of a thing, and you work on, and you specifically come out with 4 or 5 answers for every disengagement that you found, and that will ensure that in a structured manner you improve engagement in an organization. So
Right.
I hope this answers your question about
No, no, it does.
employee
It does. It does very clearly. As a matter of fact, I want to add for the benefit of the audience here that Yugandhar is the founder of a company called Wizard Solutions, which is a technology platform through which you can uh, kind of set help employees to set goals, track goals, and make
Yeah.
work easier. And at OffiNeeds, we have started onboarding on Wizard, and the reason why I say that is because it looks like, it might seem like you said a lot of things, but how the hell do I really track this at scale, right? Even for a small organization, 50, 100, 200 employees, this is quite challenging to be able to do that. It would be reasonable to assume that large organizations have some technology, some tools along with their HRMS to be able to do that. But Wizard, I think, is a fantastic solution to be able to do that. So that was a quick product pitch for you guys. So let me.
I'll actually also talk about why and how that actually can be done. Whether
Yeah.
you have a product or not have a product, but a platform will definitely help.
Right.
And it should be done in a structured manner. Okay. As I tell you, those giving a goal, setting an expectation. Uh, Enabling an employee to explore, discover, and create work plans for themselves to achieve those goals, gives food for thought for the employee,
Right.
and it enables your supervisor to get an understanding of what the individual is thinking, and
Right.
not get surprised with outcome 1.5 months down the line. A
Correct.
lot of times when you set goals, what happens is people think that the employees are already working on it, but you may be surprised that 15-20% of people have not even looked at their goals, or after 20 days they come to you saying that I did not understand this goal. So 20 days have passed by in the year, or if that's lucky, there are many people who come to you after 2 months and ask you, I didn't understand the specifics of this goal.
Right.
So, and if those work plans were to be created immediately after the goals
Yeah.
are assigned, then you're talking about engagement coming in at a very early stage. And
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
that platform facilitated the employee to talk about challenges, and the supervisor to regularly give feedback on that same platform, then one it's all getting documented. Two,
Right.
people who are facing challenges are getting answers. Three,
Right.
supervisors are getting clear and understanding of how an employee is actually thinking and progressing. So I
Perfect.
know this just by doing that, your
Yeah.
engagement quotient starts to go up.
Right. Right. Absolutely. I think I'm with you on that. Just to kind of paraphrase or summarize what you said, what you're saying is, let's come from the premise that by default employees want to succeed. They want to achieve something. They want to grow. They want to they want to create a career, and they are aspirational largely, right? So it's about creating an environment and creating a kind of a setup which allows them to do so. That and setting goals, setting expectations is the path for doing that. Did I say that right?
Yeah, actually, yes. It's the first part. I mean, that's the
Yes,
foundation,
that's
actually.
the foundation.
If people
All
don't
right,
even
so
have goals, and
yeah.
obviously they wouldn't know how to go about, I mean, and there was going to be confusion into the, I mean, in between.
Perfect. So I'll encourage our audience to start typing any questions that you have. We have another 15-20 minutes to go. So I have a couple of more questions, and then I'll be happy to address any questions, ask any questions that the audience has. So wherever you are on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, start typing those questions away, and we'll try to answer as many as possible. While those questions come in, I want to ask you, Yugandhar, what is the change in terms of employee expectations that have happened in the last 10 or 20 years? Because I mean, look, if you look at one generation back, right, they wanted government jobs, they wanted stability and things like that. Now the situation is very, very different, right? So what is the change that you see in terms of employee expectations that they have out of a employer or out of an organization, and what's the change that you see in the last 10 or 20 years?
Actually, I think employee expectation 10 years back, even 10 years back, was, stability of job. Actually, if you take it, if you go back to 2000, year 2000, and Y2K happened. I don't know how many of you would have faced the Y2K situation.
Yeah.
When the years, when we started this, we got into
2000.
2000.
Yeah.
And a lot of people did not even know what would happen. I remember I was part of City then, and we stayed up all night sitting in office and looking if our system will start working on,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
when
remember that.
Jan first happened. Okay, so that's how organizations were. And employees used to think that, okay, if this system starts to work on 1st of Jan, there's a good chance I'll have my job. Okay, from there, I think 10 years down the line, what happened was people still spoke about job security, and wanted to ensure that this private space, doesn't eat up my job. I'm not put on a bench. And but over the last 10 years, what's happened really is that the amount of exposure, amount of opportunity, and amount of learning that the internet has given,
Yeah.
with the access of internet to people, and what has happened with tools like LinkedIn or YouTube or even TikTok for that matter. Okay, people are able to, just talk about anything that they feel that they're good at, showcase their talent and stuff like that. So people are very much, while the extroverts are really, really looking out to showcase their talents to everybody, the introverts are also thinking about, okay, how am I going to, go about my work? So people are looking at exploration, and
Right.
people want to ensure creativity is at its peak, and people feel stuffed and claustrophobic if they're not allowed to function in with some space. So that freedom is very important. I think that's what's changed over the period, and organizations have taken note of that. And many organizations are working on giving that space to people, and at the same time, looking at developing people for the future. I think that's what's
Right.
happening from an organization point of view. They are
Absolutely.
really working on talent development as such. So assessing people on what are the different dimensions of a person. It could be potential of a person, it could be development needs of a person, it could be the progression that a person is looking forward to. It could also
Yeah.
mean the fitment, whether the person fits in this or that. And those are the things which giving employee the flexibility of trying to see where that nice space of that person is really in an organization. So if and if people had the freedom to do what they like a hobby, and collaborate with people within an organization and outside
Yeah.
organization, that keeps them going, that keeps them
Right.
okay, thinking about what they like personally as well. So people want
Right.
that to happen along with the job. That's what's
Right.
actually what people are looking forward to as an employee. Not just money, not just
Yeah.
security, but
Yeah.
the feel good factor of what I
Yeah.
like to do. I'm getting to do that.
Right. They like to be challenged. They like to be excited. It's not just about stability anymore. All right.
Yeah,
So we have.
I'm sorry, I'm going to just stop you for a minute. They actually want to bring out. They feel like contributing to an organization. They feel like surprising the supervisor and the organization as to how they could actually showcase innovations or ideas which could actually impact the organization in a very way. 15 years back, people would never take that step of giving
Right.
out or showcasing what or telling what speaking their mind for the organization. They would get scared that what will they get ridiculed, or would they get judged. Okay,
Right.
yeah,
Right. Absolutely. Agree with you. I think, like you said, because of the number of opportunities, the risk-taking capability, the risk ability has risk appetite has increased quite a bit. So we have some interesting questions that have come in. So let me try to
yeah,
combine a couple of questions. We have another 15 minutes, give or take, and let's try to address as many questions as we can. We have a very, very pertinent question that's come from Mohammed Hisham. Hi, Hisham. How are you? Good to see you here. He says, how do you improve employee engagement with employees who are indifferent? There is another question that is asked about how do you increase engagement with employees who are introverts. Now that's not exactly the same question, but you can answer either of these questions. Actually, Meghna has a very similar question also. She says, while we could drive engagement for high potentials, can you suggest engagement method for employees who are moderately or disengaged, moderately engaged or disengaged? So somewhat along those lines, how do you deal with low engagement or people who are disengaged?
yeah. See, actually, it's a very good question. I'll come to Meghna first, and then I'll go to Mohammed.
Hisham.
Uh, uh, Meghna, it's a very good question. Actually, most people think that while we could drive engagement for high potentials. In fact, you really don't need to drive that much
Yeah.
engagement with high potentials. Okay, high potential people would generally be engaged, and that's how it's come out that they're high potential. And it's also that you could even create, those situations where people can showcase, and you can understand what is how potential can convert into performance. Where
Right.
the situation where you need to really think about is what are the methods of increasing engagement with moderately and disengaged people.
Mm.
uh, I would say moderately engaged people to move towards. So there are multiple ways. Okay, the first one I think is very important is influence.
Mm.
Okay, first and foremost is influence. You need to understand who are those influencers. You need,
Mm.
like you said, there are people who are engaged, and
Mm.
how these engaged lot are succeeding. Showcasing that is very important. Okay, and those people. So, for example, if you are in a call center, I keep telling this to some people. If you're in a floor where there are 40 people, and if you had all high potential, high engaged candidates in one side of the floor, then there is a very good chance that the other side of the floor is going to remain moderately or low engaged. Okay, so it's important that the floor itself has a mix at every side of every corner of the floor, every part of the floor. There is an influencer, and you need to understand that influencers or high engaged individuals will eventually start to talk about the good things, showcase the better things, and also
Yeah.
when others start to see engagement leads to performance, leads to success, they will also start to jump on the bandwagon of getting engaged. Okay,
Right.
so that's a very important aspect. Second is communication. An
Mm.
organization and a team leader or a person who's a leader needs to communicate where the engagement, why the people in the organization are engaged, has to own up to what are the one, two, three things that the organization or a unit or a group is low on engagement, and how the organization recognizes and working towards building those aspects. So why do people, again going back, why do people remain under moderately engaged or low engaged? If they are not happy, if they are not loyal, or if they are not talking good about the organization, because either they feel bullied, or they
Mm.
don't know how to work, or they don't know what they're supposed to do at work, they don't have the materials to perform, they don't have the supervision in place, they feel their supervisor is partial. These are the aspects in an employee engagement survey. Okay, or to understand employees engagement, you will identify what are the key drivers to disengagement. And if
Mm.
a team leader or an organization told the showcase to the organization that are the three key drivers that are causing disengagement, and they also talk about all the key drivers that are causing high engagement, so that's also good. It should feel good about why the organization is so engaged, why people in the organization are doing well, and what's driving performance as well as success. That's important to talk, but we also should talk about what's driving engagement downward. And
Mm.
if the organization talks about that, and also
Yeah.
talks about what is the action plans that the organization is taking to improve that, that's the first part. Immediately people start to believe that there is commitment from leadership to improve engagement. Second, to keep communicating how that engagement, how that driver has improved, how those three action plans have improved over a period of time. So every month you come back to those people saying that this is the activity that we did from the engagement, from the disengagement driver, and this is the outcome of that. I
Right.
think this will drive engagement up in an organization or in a team. The same thing can be done with a team also. Yeah.
Perfect.
Second, we go to. I hope I
Hisham.
answered that. Yeah,
Yeah, I
Hisham.
think you did.
How do you
Hisham asked
increase?
about, yeah, about engaging people who are indifferent and people who are introverts.
I think I spoke about indifferent
Yeah.
already.
Yeah,
So
you did.
that's indifferent is somewhat like disengaged.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't really care about whether the organization is
Yes.
doing well, whether I'm contributing to the result. Okay, and what's happening to the guy next to me? Is
Mm.
that guy doing well? Uh,
Mm.
I don't really care about collaboration and stuff like that.
Mm.
So
Mm.
once people start seeing merit in doing well and succeeding
Yeah.
and performing and getting that
Right.
reward and recognition, they'll start getting a little more engaged with people around them, with the organization, with the team. But
Right.
let's talk about increasing engagement who are introverts. Okay. So it's not bad to be an introvert. Okay, it's not like everybody needs to be on TikTok. uh, it's just that we need to understand that certain people are in such a way, and that's diversity. So when you actually create a network, you would like to have both introverts,
Yeah.
extroverts, different genders, different people with different potential, different connections, everything. So that's how you go about your networking. So introverts are just set as different set of people who have potential, who potentially can impact the organization, can impact teams. And how do you drive engagement? It's not very different. You identify what are the, when you take a survey, you really know what's happening. Second thing is, if you want to drive engagement with introverts, an introvert is a person who's not talking to you about what the problem is. I'm assuming Hisham is actually saying this, that this person is not telling me what is making me feel disengaged, or what's making me feel unhappy, or does is not making me feel that I should stay in this organization. So that's the worry of a supervisor. A supervisor feels, I really don't know whether this guy wants to stay with this organization, stay in this team, and whether this guy is happy or not happy. Okay, and how does that happen? if you actually, again, I'm going back to, it's stale now in this thing, but if you actually start talking about methods of functioning, methods of work planning,
Yeah.
talk about challenges with the person, ask the person of the challenges, listen to the person. That's a very important aspect. While you talk about the expectations, if you listen to the person, okay, those 7 words that person spoke, okay, when you speak about coaching, it's important that you talk about questions. When
Mm,
coaching is all about questioning people and identifying or making people identify what is their purpose in life. Okay,
mm,
why are they coming to work? So you use the words why, what, how, which, when. Those are the words you use when you
mm,
coach people. It's not like when you coach people, you don't give answers to them. So when you're
mm.
dealing with introverts, you ask these questions and the introvert will talk to you about those answers. Okay,
Right.
and that's how you will start framing and understanding what are the challenges, and eventually you can, you and that individual start to reach solutions. Okay, I mean, that's what
Yeah.
is my way of looking at how I could deal with introverts to get performance out of them. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think it will help if they're the right fitment for the right job. Their skill and the job that they're doing and the profile and their aptitude should match to the job that they're doing.
I
If you're
think
trying to put
Shrikant has a
everybody,
very good question. Sriram, sorry.
yeah,
Uh, Lockdown has certainly changed the way we work and operate. With an impending lockdown too, okay, and many organizations advocating permanent work from home measures, employee
yeah,
engagement in the traditional sense is going through a paradigm shift. Yeah, yeah.
yep,
Employee engagement is even more important. And organizations who never bothered, weekly review hai, sab jane ek room mein aayenge, everybody will just stand up in a line. I will ask how much you did, how much you did, how much you did, how much you did. They answered and then they left. That's not going to happen. And as Hisham said, there will be introverts who will just talk in monosyllables.
yeah.
So with work from home and with lockdown, Sriram has put a very good question. How do we ensure we understand employee engagement and keep that motivation going? How do we ensure that employees are still engaged? And supervisors are scared ki I don't know what's going to happen this month because have no clue what people are doing. Actually, it's a very good question. So I think should I answer that, Shrikant?
Yes, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay, I think in a work from home situation, since there is very limited informal communication, okay, between people in a team, between
Yeah,
organizations and their employees, between
yeah.
supervisors and their team, okay,
You
it becomes
suddenly
very
realize
difficult.
how important gossip is.
And that tea and that stroll down the road
Yes.
to
Yeah.
have your tea with them, and the supervisors trying to just understand, and the employees actually thinking, "Arey, mera boss bahut acha hai, he's taking me for tea," but actually the supervisors trying to know, "Arey, what is this guy feeling, what is he doing?" Just
Right.
get an informal understanding. Okay, these cunning approaches that, okay, whatever, all of them work. Okay, but the employee is getting his tea and biscuit, so
Yeah.
that also works. Okay, in work from home situation, there's very limited informal communication, right? And it's important. It's very important. If a person is sitting in front of a computer for like 8 hours, it's really, really stressful. I mean, after this hour of hours, I'm going to walk out and take a nice stroll and come back because that's going to be taxing it. That itself is taxing for me. Okay, so they could start feeling isolated. These employees
Mm,
can start feeling isolated. They can start feeling insecure, and they don't know when they're going through a time where they're not able to get solutions. And look at it from the employee point of view. The employee earlier used to gauge how the supervisor's mood is, used
mm,
to gauge how others are feeling around in the
mm,
team. Now
mm,
it becomes very difficult. Team meetings are not happening. One-to-one meetings are happening more on a call. Actually, meetings only may not be happening. We don't know. Okay, and employees start to feel insecure. They don't know what's happening around them. They don't know whether their job is there. Okay, they don't know whether they're performing well. They don't know what their supervisor is thinking about them. Okay, and they don't know whom to trust, whether they can trust with the supervisor. If I told my supervisor that my daughter is alone with me and I have to take care of my daughter today, and
mm,
there are going to be times where my daughter's going to need my attention. I need to walk out for half an hour, take care of her, come back. If I have to say that, okay, will my supervisor like it? I'm already seeing work from home is making jobs scarce. I mean, we don't need too many jobs kind of a situation is coming up. So if I say these things, what will happen? Okay, so
Correct.
they feel very insecure and they look for redressal, they look for help. Okay, but can they actually talk about those situations? So it's important that they don't feel that isolated. It's important they feel resilient and they need that motivation. Okay,
Right.
eventually low motivation and resilience will make them give up and even attract from an organization. Okay, online work collaboration and planning platforms can help here again. Okay, expectation setting is important. Individuals can should so supervisors should take time off to ask people how they're feeling and what are the problems that they're facing, and give and supervisors should improve their emotional quotient. Emotional quotient is talking about how people feel.
Right.
Okay, really feeling for the people. Okay, listening to people, engaging in conversations, and facilitating a collaborative environment where people talk about not just work but how team building can improve. Okay, showcasing them with examples. Okay, it's very important in during these times that successes are showcased of individuals. If people's successes are showcased, team successes are showcased, then people feel motivated. A lot of times people feel bored of their jobs. So when people
Yeah.
start to feel good, a pat on the back every 7 days will ensure that they're engaged in their job. Okay, it's
Right.
very important that supervisors don't breathe down their neck. Okay, and look at mentoring them, understanding challenges and mentoring them more than just following up. Okay, that's not and people should feel involved. And lastly, people should want to be involved. Okay,
Yeah.
they want to know what is the progress of the organization. They want to know what is happening to the things that we had planned, and they want to know whether I have contributed to the success
Right.
and what is my contribution. Their
Right.
feeling important is very important, so make them feel important. Okay, it
Right.
all boils down to leaders communicating,
Perfect.
awareness of the problems, awareness of how people are feeling, the emotional quotient you maintain, and the motivation that you bring in your teams.
Right. Absolutely. Completely agree with you. I think it's very, very well answered. I think the initiative needs to be taken from the management to be able to take that extra effort to be able to communicate better, to reach out to them better, and listen better to what's happening at workplace slash home. So I think that's we've almost come to the end. We've exceeded our time limit just a little bit, and we still have some really good questions. I think Raghuram has a good question about the gig economy, and I actually want to conclude this session with by answering Nishant's question there. It's not exactly a question; it's more of a comment where he says, "I think this employee engagement thing is better for startups and where innovative culture is required, but for large organizations, he feels that large companies don't really care." Now, this is something which I want you to really answer, because if you speak to any HR, I don't think any HR will say we don't care, right? And but in larger organizations, it's so much more difficult to understand what's happening, to be able to do this at scale. And a lot of times, um, the importance of HR, the importance of what the HR is doing gets underplayed, and it just goes under the carpet. Nobody knows what is going on, right? So let me put it this way, right? So if there is an HR professional who's working at a large organization, maybe he's just started off his career, what is the advice that you would offer to him so that people don't feel the way Nishant is feeling right here?
It's a very good question, and I think this will define when a HR individual walks into a human resource management, and not just human resource management. If a person is involved in business development, okay. When I say business development, ensuring that business people are business leaders. Okay, for both HR and business leaders, they should focus on an organization culture and safety. Safety is most important. People should feel safe. People should feel that and safety is not restricted to psychological safety and physical safety alone. Safety is psychological safety. That means people feel happy about their way of, how they're conducting themselves in an organization, and how they are being perceived in an organization, and what is the situation that they're going through mentally. Physical is the constraints that may be that they are in an organization, in a workplace, or even in their house. Okay. And sometimes when organizations talk about safety, they talk only about fire drill.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's not limit it to that
Yeah.
only. Physical safety could be your workstation, which is really bad. It could be the food that you're being served in an office. It could be the roof that could collapse in your head. Okay. And many other things. So let's not talk about, and even people in different kind of jobs who are climbing poles in case of a company, or who are actually not wearing adequate equipment while doing a construction activity, all kinds of things. So that's physical safety. But what people are completely neglecting is professional safety and social safety. Not everybody, but I think 50-60% of the organizations are neglecting whether people feel safe in the social environment of an organization and in the industry. Okay. Whether they feel claustrophobic, whether they're able to talk about the problems that they're facing, or their ideas that they want to do. That's social safety. Whether they're able to look at and have the freedom to communicate, collaborate, and innovate. Okay. And more importantly,
Yeah.
professional safety means like I'm doing something which according to me is not professional. So people now, employees, want safety in terms of all four aspects: physical, psychological, professional, and social. So leaders and team leaders, team managers, and organizations, HR especially, should think about all four aspects of safety. This is very important and fundamental to employee engaging in an organization and attrition not happening in an organization. Second most important, okay, I know you asked me one, but the second most important is talent development. If people do not feel that they are not developing themselves, or they do not have the opportunity to develop in this organization, grow in this organization, learn in this organization, in the environment they are, then the employee will start looking for other opportunities. So HR, please look at workplace safety, employee safety, and talent development. There are many
Right.
dimensions to talent development, to talent itself. Look at all those dimensions like potential, performance, development needs, fitment, whether it is succession, whether it is learning, rewards, recognition. Look at all these aspects. They're all important aspects. Okay. Talent development and safety. Those are the two things. Ask people when you get the time what motivates them in the organization. Keep your ears open. What's causing low engagement? How is collaboration possible? How can people work together? Ample opportunities available for voicing their concern. Check whether they feel that there are ample opportunities available. I'm sure HR is already giving those opportunities, but do people know that they can voice their concern, and do they feel safe voicing their concern? And finally, do you really have those redressal mechanisms? You may put the POSH policy, you may say prevention of sexual
Yeah.
harassment policy I've rolled out, but does that talk about how an employee can go about putting that problem ahead? Does that person feel safe to put that problem ahead to their people, to the organization? And are people trained to manage these problems,
Right.
instances? Is the supervisor trained to manage this instance? Is the supervisor know what they have to do in case an employee complains about a posh instance, or an instance where they don't feel safe? These are the things HR have to get into. I hope that answers
Right.
the question.
Yeah, it does. It does. It does very well. I think that is helps prioritize what exactly we need to be focusing on. So thank you so much, Yugandhar, and thanks
Thank you,
everybody. There's
Srikanth.
been a lot of participation here. I'm sorry we were not able to address all the questions, but I'll request Yugandhar to go through the comments and on Facebook and Instagram, on Facebook and LinkedIn, and try to answer some of the questions directly. So we've come to that time where we have those 3 books to give away. So Yugandhar, you can go ahead and pick your questions, and who do we give these books out to?
Don't make me do this.
All right, I'll do that. I think
You do it.
I'll do that. I'll be that guy. right? So I think basis the kind of questions and the kind of engagement, I would say one book I would like to send it to Hisham, and I think Meghna Abraham was, we really loved the questions that you asked. That's another person I would like to send out the book to. And the third book I'd like to send to Raghuram Natesan here. It was a really really good question. We didn't have the time to answer that question. So basically, it's about not, it's not just employee engagement. There's a lot of other consultants, and there's a lot of other people who are also involved in that, and they just get sidelined, right? So he's a contract staff and those kind of things. So how do you engage with them? Somewhere along those lines was the question. So I'll really urge Yugandhar to go answer that question in the comments below. So these are the three people I pick to send out the books to. So with that, we
Yeah.
come to the absolute end of this session. Thank you so much. I think it was a really really insightful session. I'm super excited, and I think a few gray hair wiser with after this 1 hour of talk. And thank you so much, Uganda, for taking off the time on
Thanks,
a Friday
Srikanth.
evening. And thanks
Thanks,
everybody for
Srikanth, and thanks everybody for joining. I hope this time was worthwhile and valuable. But people can reach me on Facebook or LinkedIn, and we can have a conversation again. Okay. All the
absolutely.
best to everybody, and obviously, organization behavior, Jai Ho. Yeah.
Jai Ho. Right. Thank you so much and have a fantastic weekend. See you in the next episode, which will be happening next Friday. Bye bye.
Bye bye.